You see, the whole idea of what we built was, as we see, there's a growing gap between the rich and the poor because people are not attached to the value they create. So in essence, having an ownership economy and a business model that's attached to it allows us to reward users for the value they create.
I believe in XMANNA. We've just signed a deal with the whole sports league, and we're going to be doing every single one of their games live in XMANNA.
Go onto inx.co and check out the XMANNA raise, look at the other raises that are happening on INX. This is pre-vetted deal flow.
Today I interview Steve Stein, CEO and co-founder of XMANNA, a software technology company with a focus on monetizing engagement, as well as their macroverse/metaverse, XLANTIS. Now, this is a fully SEC compliant company with a focus on sports, entertainment, and how users can monetize their time, actions, and data, all while driving the fan experience. We'll also get some great perspective from Bob, of partner of the channel INX, as well as Douglas of Blue Canary, both working with XMANNA. But first, Steve, what's your background?
My background happens to be financial, sales, commodities, currencies, all of those things. I got into the Web3 area when we saw the need for it as we were rolling out applications and services. And you saw where the metaverse was going, the direction it was taking, and felt like you just needed to introduce these services to have a more complete offering for sports clubs. And that's really where it came about through the process of working with them and trying to understand which technologies to launch for them.
And in terms of working with these sports clubs, what makes you passionate about Web3? What's that bringing to the table?
Well, I mean, if you think about engagement, and I mean, that's the essence of our technology, right? It's the ability to connect ad spend to ad return. And in order to do that, you have to get engagement and so on. And when you look at, different verticals, sports gets the best engagement out there. I mean, they can engage, half the planet, with the right kind of game. So the idea is to introduce these technologies that are white labeled for sports organizations, and then they can take that and introduce it to their fans.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the main product, what XMANNA is, you call it a macroverse, but it's a metaverse, it's a game, it's fan engagement. Could you go over what is XMANNA?
Sure. So XMANNA is a cutting-edge SaaS solution that is designed to empower users to be able to create engagement, monetize those ecosystems better, bringing together, sports, retail, entertainment, gaming, and spending. And in essence, the metaverse itself, or our XLANTIS, in essence, is it's a world that's designed to be owned by everyone, powered by XMANNA. And what that does is it gives companies the ability to interact in a more unique and experiential way. We believe there's going to be millions of metaverses out there. And the question is, how do you connect them? The future of the internet, we believe, will be experiential. It's that next evolution of your website. Where is it going? And when you can create a space where users can jump between all of these different experiences that these organizations already have, from sports to retail, entertainment, gaming, and so on, you create a very immersive, interactive experiences that bridges both the digital and physical worlds.
And I definitely want to get you guys in here as well, but just another question for Steve. Like, I can think of a handful of cryptocurrency metaverses out there today. Like, what are some of the differences with XLANTIS? One of them being you guys are offering a security token, which is totally different than the others. Could you go into some of those differences?
Absolutely. Well, if you think about, for example, just ownership in general, one of the reasons we're excited about this whole security token process, when you walk into a Nike store, Nike does not know that you're an owner, right? How do they interact or reward you for that ownership when you do walk in? And you're not exactly going to pull out your stock certificates and hold it up for them, right? Digital securities give you the ability to do that. And that changes the game completely when you think about the interaction with sports ecosystems and their users. For a long time, sports has been synonymous in such that they're constantly taking from their fans. They're looking to give back now. And you find that in a significant way when you look at the Super League and other areas of sports. What you find is that you can create something, really exciting when you bring in the aspects of digital tokens and ownership and how that can interact in a variety of different spaces for their users, for their ecosystem, and so on.
So I own the token. Does that mean I get a dividend of profits?
That is correct. A share of the revenue that you would make from the club's ecosystem.
Nice. And what is the other utility of the token? Do I need it to buy the land, or I can use any currency, the main ones, to?
Yes, the tokens will be for rewards, right? To show ownership and to give out rewards and utility for that in a variety of different ways. You can think of like ultimate fan experiences, VIP access, and a variety of things that can be, given out because of it. In the same way that, companies were thinking about using utility before, but now adding, the ownership aspect of it, doing it licensed, regulated way. There's a whole like laundry list of utility functions that you can add in once you have that.
I'm excited. Douglas, I want to bring you in here. What are we missing? What are you excited about? Or what is your involvement with this?
I like Steve's thought about the Nike store. I walked into a shopping mall the other day with my kids, and I own stock in a lot of different equities that are associated with these stores. And it's true, when I walk in there, I don't get any special deal. And then I thought, I get a special deal though if I was on a website, but that's not really immersive. And I'm seeing a lot. I was just at Plug and Play in California last week, and there must have been 50 odd brands that are all looking into the metaverse and creating in the metaverse. And the reason is because there's one thing that doesn't exist there is capacity constraints. Now, capacity constraints are very important. Steve deals with soccer teams right now that maybe fit 55,000 people in a stadium, but have maybe 180 million followers. That's a lot of followers that you can't really give that game day experience. But what if you can give them other experiences? What if you can create something in the metaverse that maybe 100 million of them can show up to at any one time and do something? Well, that's a heck of a lot of people. I don't know of any store in the world that has 100 million people, let's say, walking by it over a 20-minute period. Now, why is that important? Well, first of all, that's a big number, but Ariana Grande had 78 million people come to one of her concerts. Travis Scott had 12 million people come to a concert that lasted 20 minutes. 6 million of them bought a toy for $70. What we're saying is, if Steve can create something, and he is creating this, for all of these sports teams, and they have tremendous, huge numbers of people, 180 million people, that's about half the United States. If he can get just a small percentage of those into that stadium in the metaverse, and they can do things associated with that club, well, there's going to be a lot of money generated. Even if 1% came in and bought a couple of things at $100, that comes out to about $1 per follower that you can generate in terms of profit. And I think that the token that Steve's giving out gives out 15% of whatever the share is that XMANNA gets. That could be potentially considerable. And I think that that's what makes it really exciting. Now, I believe in XMANNA. We've just signed a deal with the whole sports league, and we're going to be doing every single one of their games live in XMANNA. Now, we haven't announced what the name of that league is yet, but I think we will be by the end of this week.
Okay,
On
good.
top of that, we're also going to be doing live concerts there. And we've got a live concert coming in September with someone that's very significant. It actually was the first ever person that sang on live television, and he'll be the first person singing live in the metaverse. Now, why would we do it there? Again, our fan Ariana Grande can fit 35,000 people in a stadium, but 78 million in the metaverse. Then why wouldn't you do all concerts in the metaverse? And I've been talking to a lot of stars, a lot of pop stars, since I moved away from INX into Blue Canary. And these pop stars, they don't want to do these global tours anymore. They will, but in one night, they could make more money than they would on 2 or 3 global tours. And so the market's moving towards this metaverse experience. And you may not think of it right now, Austin, but at some point, you can sit there at home on your Wednesday or Thursday night and say, look, maybe I'll watch Apple Television, Netflix, or maybe I'll go into the metaverse. But Steve's metaverse is different in that you don't need the fancy goggles. You don't have to be rich to get the goggles to go into it. You can go in on your phone, on an iPad. You can do it on your computer. Because as you gamify these experiences, you'll find that a lot more people use it. I know where my kids are for 5 hours a day, every single day in the weekend. They're in an imaginary world as an avatar, with this whole imaginary life that they live, playing Call of Duty or some game or Roblox or something. And they're spending money like water. And I think that adults will probably move into that. I mean, my kids are adults now too. I've got everything from 11-year-olds up to 21-year-olds, and they're out there in their worlds that are either computer games or metaverses, spending money as if they were, in lifetime. That's how they do their social experiences. And so these guys are now moving into adulthood, and they'll continue to have their social experiences in the metaverse. I liked Steve when I first met him because I thought about Scotland playing rugby against France. Now, I'm in America. My French buddies in France, and neither of us are going to fly into Murrayfield to watch Scotland-France rugby. But if I can sit next to my friend in the stadium in the metaverse, while we're still lying on the couches at our own homes, quote, babysitting, drinking our own wine. This is fantastic for me. And I think there's a lot of people around the world that want to watch their teams or participate with their teams, with their friends, and their friends are scattered all around the world. And I think that's where, it's an incredible experience that can be brought with the metaverse. And I think it's fantastic that Steve decided to go the security token route. And I think you're going to find a lot more people go that route because, well, there's regulation there.
Well, I was just going to branch off to that. All these artists or sports teams or whoever, they can only, they could license their stuff out to all metaverses, I guess, but they're looking for the safer ones or the ones where the people are going to be at. Do you feel
they can't license it to anyone? I'll tell you why, because they want control over the metaverse that's created for them. If you go into Roblox or Fortnite, it's Roblox or Fortnite. And everywhere you walk throughout that process, it's Roblox and Fortnite marketing. Whereas if you do something in Steve's metaverse, in XLANTIS, all of it's just about that team. Now there's an exit where you could leave that and you could go into another team, or you could go into another team, or you could go watch a live concert, or you could go shopping, or you could play some games. But all of the space that's there is for that specific team.
So I can see why the artists or the athletes or the people with the IP would benefit. They would feel better in a metaverse like this. For the users, and you kind of touched on this already, could you just go into specifically how users are able to monetize their time, actions, and data on something like this versus Web 2?
Sure, it'd be my pleasure. You see, the whole idea of what we built was, as we see, there's a growing gap between the rich and the poor because people are not attached to the value they create. So in essence, having an ownership economy and a business model that's attached to it allows us to reward users for the value they create, centered around sports, gaming, retail, entertainment, spending, And when you hear a lot of companies talk about, we're going to bring everyone on our chain because, you need to, if you want to have your chain, and then, that's how you'll connect ad spend to ad return or a variety of other things. And, for XMANNA, we went a different route. Instead of trying to connect the ad spend, like you have a single chain, we encourage the users to partner with us and in the main parts of the value chain, right, of their value chain in their sports interactions, the ones they're already doing, right, the retail, gaming, entertainment, and so on. And then around that, our business model puts 40% of the net daily profits back to the users who are generating it in the first place. Now, when we came to market with a business model where we're only keeping 25% of the revenue, most people thought we were crazy, but it turns out you have to give to get. And when you have an ownership structure that allows you to, reward the users for the value they create, it creates something like a snowball down the mountain, if you would.
Well, let's talk Web3 gaming as well, Austin. When my kids play Grand Theft Auto, they spend a lot of money very, very quickly because they want the fancy jets, the secret lair, all the nice cars. You've probably done the same thing yourself. And then 3 weeks later, they're sick of the game. The money's gone. The toys are there, but can't sell them. I don't get my money back. With Web3 gaming, when you buy something, you hold it and you can sell it to someone else. And I think that that's going to be very, very important. I'd like to be able to buy a skin in Steve's game as an NFT that I can then wear when I'm playing Call of Duty. Now we're going to move to that sort of pace whereby you will be able to have a wallet in Steve's metaverse. That wallet's collecting the NFTs that you're purchasing. And then you can wear these into different games throughout all these different metaverses that exist. Web3 gaming certainly coming at a very strong stage. But another thing that Steve can do is he could say, you know what, if in your wallet you also have, let's say, INX tokens, guess what? You don't have to pay for concerts, or you don't have to pay for this, and we'll give you discounts for that. It doesn't have to be INX tokens. It could be just Avalanche tokens, or if you own Polygon token, whatever. But based upon just what someone holding something in their wallet, he can provide all sorts of goodies, enhanced abilities to people throughout his gaming ecosystem.
So Steve, what does success look like for XMANNA in 5 years? What will you have achieved in 5 years if everything goes perfectly?
Well, we would have some of the top sports clubs in the world as partners, and definitely would have IPO'd. And I would say significant growth. My absolute focus is revenue. So from the loyalty application, from the gaming, from the NFT side, from the metaverse side, and partnerships. So I would say you know, I don't want to put an exact target on it, but I think success for us is continued growth, partnerships with companies, and the ability to continue to be able to give back within the application. So it's a long-term plan, not just 5 years.
And there's a security token offering going on INX today. Can you go over the detail? Any of you go over the details of that?
Absolutely. Bob, you want to take it away?
Sure. So Reg D, Reg S, that means open to accredited investors in the United States and anyone outside the United States. By purchasing this, you get 15% of the revenue attributed to, all of the sports type activity. They're going to use the capital there to secure these rights from these sports teams so that they can create these loyalty apps and do this metaverse activity for these sports teams. When he talks about the loyalty app's more than just an app. When you sit in the stadium, it's like Pokemon Go, if you've ever played that. And you look through your screen, you see some balloons floating by when you're sitting in your seat in the stadium, and you press the balloon, you get a television delivered to your home. That's pretty exciting stuff. It makes me want to go to a sports game again. Apparently 35% of people during sports games are on their phones. I didn't realize this, but that seems to be the case. And at the same time, though, in the metaverse, you've got activities going on there, but you also have activities going on in the stadium that attract people to go into a stadium. It's not just about, stadiums aren't going to be about firing T-shirts into the air anymore, into the audience. It's going to be about people sitting there with their phones, capturing things as they're going by them and having them delivered. And what Steve calls them is mana drops. But I think that it's a very interesting raise. Now, this is the first of a two-stage process. What he's selling right now is a preferred security. Preferred in that if you take one of these is equivalent to 5 of the common tokens when a full prospectus offering comes down the line. And so we're going to start working on a full prospectus offering that these would convert into. And obviously, right now, a preferred is equal to apparently 4 of these common shares, but then it would convert into 5 of the common shares once that prospectus comes through. So the prospectus is going to start getting worked on soon. We all know it takes some time to get a prospectus through, but I think as Steve said, you asked for in 5 years' time, and I think he's probably right. In 5 years' time, hopefully there'll be a public company.
And there'll be a link for the website down below for the audience to check out for themselves. And just to reiterate, I think you said this already, but any hardware, right? So you guys have all the software on any hardware, whether it's glasses or a phone or whatever, this can be used.
That's correct. It's
Nice.
using pixel streaming. So just a couple of seconds, you put it on your phone and you're in. It takes 2 seconds. And the interesting part about it is we believe that adoption in education happens when you don't have to think about that, right? People do not have to be taught how to use new technologies because that doesn't create adoption. Like, you don't know what happens when you swipe your Visa, right? But you use it every day because it's simple, it's seamless. And that's really the idea behind the technology that we build. So users log in with Google, Facebook, Apple, and they get a non-custodial wallet, access to the cryptoverse, whether they know it or not. And within that, they can then access all of the advantages that that technology offers without having to understand it, right, in the first place. And I think that is significant from the sports perspective without having to go in and educate all the fans on how Web3 works or how NFTs work and everything else. It's just a simple, seamless process that they understand.
And we talked about success. I want to talk about biggest challenges in the next 5 years. What are those challenges, the biggest ones for you?
Great question. I would say right now it's going to be creating the awareness with the users during the games with the fans about the applications. There'll be some education for the fans to know, okay, there's applications, there's NFTs, there's drops, there's rewards. You can walk around your city and pick up, these rewards from these companies using a self-service portal, and they're, giving you assets to claim in front of their stores. So there'll be some processes along that. And, I think there'll be some technology challenges that are coming up with some cool things we'd like to roll out as well. But technology is adopting so fast nowadays that it used to be that you would look around and 2 weeks later, a month later, you could talk about the technology again and say, hey, look, there's an advancement. Now it's like every couple of hours you look, there's another advancement, and it's just moving at an absolute incredible pace.
I love it. I'm excited. I want to, as we I really feel like this was a great sort of jumping off point, beginner's guide for my audience and all the stuff you're offering. Is there anything we didn't cover today?
Bob's been very quiet.
I was going to say.
Austin, I was wondering when you were going to pivot this way. So the beauty of this conversation is that everything INX did over the last 6 years, and I think you've been very aware of the progress with INX, is basically to put this framework in place so that companies like XMANNA and Blue Canary here can leverage this regulated platform, this regulated framework to basically grow their businesses in entirely new ways. It literally is, it's heartwarming to kind of see that, INX has put this thing in place, and now all these ideas are flowing, and all these business models can thrive and grow on what INX has put in place. I mean, for those who might be watching this for the first time, INX is a fully regulated security token offering platform, licensed with multiple regulators in the USA, the SEC, FINRA. We're a transfer agent, a broker dealer. We're on this ATS platform where these security tokens can trade. And when you look at everything that's happened in crypto and in digital assets in the last year or so, it's pretty clear, this has to be a regulated space. This has to be a space where traditional, what the rules and the protections around traditional securities should apply here as well. And that's exactly what INX has put in place. And when we did this, it wasn't like we were looking at a virtual world or a metaverse or pharma or logistics and freight. We're basically putting this framework in place that is industry agnostic. It's vertical agnostic, and we're now basically the platform's there, the licenses are there, the know-how and the white glove service that we have is in place. And all these various industry verticals are looking at this space and what tokenization can do for them, and they're getting extremely creative. So, we've talked about gaming and metaverse. In my role here as VP of Capital Markets, I speak to dozens of companies on a weekly basis, and they come from all different verticals, whether it's real estate or pharma or trade finance. And quite a few from virtual worlds and metaverse, because the utility opportunities of leveraging a token that's sitting in a wallet and being able to use that to access all kinds of other things is really amazing. And specifically in the space of sports, there's also stuff that I can't disclose, but we're having really exciting conversations with sports clubs and entire leagues, because again, this is just a natural progression to where fan engagement is going. Like, the fan engagement is going to be real and virtual, and it isn't like one or the other. Like Doug was saying, being in a stadium in the person, but having your mobile phone and being able to somehow interact with a virtual world that's sitting in parallel to reality. It's all around the corner, and I think the likes of Steve who have designed this whole ecosystem and this play, the system's already there. It's just to build and roll them out now and basically accelerate the traction. And every new deal that comes to INX, every new capital raise, every new primary raise and issuer that comes specifically in this space is just going to accelerate this even more. So I'm totally excited about this raise. It's a space that I personally have been in Metaverse. I've invested in a couple of Metaverse projects for a while. My kid, I get an invoice from Roblox once every month, saying, the $10 is gonna, and this is my kid who's just, building worlds and playing, and he's on his headset with his friends, and his friends are in London and he's here in Cyprus, and they're just interacting in this way that's really natural to them. Now, these are kids. I also have friends in my age group who literally this weekend had this big gaming marathon, whatever they called it, and literally just got together at a friend's place and they played nonstop. So gaming is huge. There's no doubt about that. Sports, the way you can do fan engagement and loyalty, is just second to none in the sports space. And when you start to put all of this around with the metaverse offering, the technology, and then the regulated framework that INX offers, I think it's a win-win.
I love it.
Win-win-win, because there's three of us. There's a trifecta here.
Absolutely.
Guys, I'm going to be following, again, the links are for everything are down below. I want to go around the horn and just give final thoughts, maybe starting with Steve. Final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily audience. Sure.
Path to success is like walking down the beach in wet sand. You can see it in front of you. INX has already set out the path. From the securities perspective, we believe that we're cutting the path for metaverses and being the backbone of what we're doing in sports and so on. And from Blue Canary side, absolutely incredible partners. They've really helped us to move this forward. And future is going to be really exciting.
Awesome. Douglas or Bob?
I'm happy to stitch together two winning combinations. When we started INX, we thought about, I think people looked at this self-custodied wallet and thought that's a mistake. And what I've realized now as I get into Web3 is that it's probably the smartest thing that INX does. When you're dealing with international audiences that are playing games, that are in there doing things in the metaverse, they need portability of their tokens, and they need portability of regulated tokens. And I don't know of any other company that exists in this space that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, where you can take your tokens off exchange and actually hold them in a wallet. And that wallet is portable and can sync in with the metaverse or with gaming. And I think that that's going to be key going forward. And I've talked to pretty much every gaming company that exists in the last 3 months, well, the bigger ones, and realize that this is absolutely the future. And INX is the only one that's standing there in the right place. And Steve has done something that other metaverse companies have failed to do. When you look at Meta creates an environment for you to swing around a lightsaber so you can buy some glasses. Steve says, forget about the goggles. Instead, how do we get an audience together? Well, if you want audiences to go somewhere, you give them what they want and what they demand, and you go after very large audiences. So yeah, there's probably a lot of 50,000 rich people that want to play with a lightsaber for 10 minutes after they've bought the goggles and then they've given up. But with Steve's model, you've got 180 million people just for one sports team that wants to come in and do something and can access it on their phone. And I think it's a much better model. I think Steve's got a very strong model. I look forward to to seeing how this goes. And I think that INX has got a great model too. It's great to put 2 and 2 together.
And Bob, I regret saving you to the end. You were dropping such fire perspective, but final thoughts.
No, that's cool. Look, time and time again, we've seen these massive shifts in whether it's technology or, just the way the human story has kind of evolved. And even within financial markets, right? With, electronic trading coming in and replacing the manual trader, security tokens are the one of the most exciting things to come into financial markets, in the last decade or so, if not more. But they're just starting to have their time. Like when you look at, Citigroup and BlackRock, JP Morgan, Bank of America, all of these and more have made very clear positive statements this year about security tokens, securitization, tokenization of, real world assets, whether that's tangible, like, real estate, or less tangible, like fan engagement. This is going to be massive. So to your fan base, to your listeners, look into tokenization, look at companies like INX, look at what we've done to facilitate the evolution of this space. And don't miss out like those who are still in denial with the internet, in the late 90s and going, this is just a fad, or electric cars, this is just a short-term thing, this is real, this is happening. So, go onto inx.co and check out the XMANNA raise, look at the other raises that are happening on INX. This is pre-vetted deal flow that, investors can be confident and look at. And look at some of the other offerings we have, like the security token trading platform and the crypto exchange.
I love it. Gentlemen, thank you all for taking the time. Steve, thank you for sharing your time. Links are down below.